Jason, appreciate it. Thank you. So what more can be done to help servicemen and women battling post-traumatic stress disorder? Joining me from Capitol Hill, we appreciate the time, Congressman Joe Sestak of Pennsylvania. He is a retired Navy admiral now serving on the House Armed Services Committee. And let me start this way with you. Again, former naval officer. How far have we come in recognizing and treating PTSD?
Not far enough. You know, we have to recognize also that when a veteran's hurting like this, his family or her family is hurting. And this war is different. In World War II, your average vet went through combat over 4 years, about 180 days. Guadalcanal, Normandy, but dwell time to rest in between those horrific battles. Our vet over there in Iraq, he or she goes outside the wire every day for 15 months, not knowing if that car beside them is going to explode, comes home for 12 and goes back. This is why, for one example, 1 out of every 3 veterans of military that comes home and is diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, the other 2 tell us, even though they've not been diagnosed but on surveys, that they never were able in theater to get care for what they felt was PTSD. So between 2004, when that one soldier that you had there on just before me, there used to be 780 in theater mental behavioral types of specialists. Today we're down to about 350. We need to even take care of it in theater before they even come home.
Representative, is it the length of service that is the determining factor as to who gets PTSD, or is it the simple nature of the work of war itself that is the determinant?
The reason, and I've sat down 3 times with mental health specialists at Philadelphia VA, and last night actually we had over 700 veterans and their family members come together to the VA summit, and this was a major issue because General Senseki sent up his chief of staff to discuss mental health with us. And during this discussion, it came out it was very obvious that it is the length of time, yes, but more than that, it's the unremitting every day that they're in a combat-like situation, because your physical nerves and being tense and out there affect your mental state. So because of the length of time they're there, 15 months. But in addition to that, it's every day is what truly causes it. The second factor we have, Tony, which is very important, is that if 20%, 1 out of every 5 veterans coming home, had cancer, we would not be having self-referrals being done for cancer. We don't have a mandatory, confidential, systematic approach that includes the families in order to see if we can't better take care of these men and women.
Gotcha.
We can do much better at this, and we need to do that.
So we can do much better, but I have to ask you a question here. Do we know how to get people better, how to make them whole again?
We don't do it very well. But take, for example, the University of Pennsylvania, when I went to, is next door to VA's hospital in Philadelphia. When I met with a mental health specialist 3 times in the past 4 months, they talked about a doctor at the University of Penn that truly probably has one of the key breakouts of how to do it. Now, our military has put about $1 billion into more research and development. Post-traumatic stress disorder of combat is different than if you're living in a very hard place in Washington, D.C. or something where it's unremitting, you have gunfire. But we need more research and more development. One last point, if I might. 11% of our veterans coming home have at least mild traumatic brain injury. 50% of them never get treated for it, and that compounds PTSD. Look, we've got an issue here, and we have to stop, as we've done so many times, shooting behind the rabbit. A mandatory, confidential, working with families to try to get the veterans not to self-refer themselves, but to have the right type of confidential talking with them can help remove the stigma, because it's going to feed into our society otherwise. We failed to do it with Vietnam vets. We must do it with these men and women.
Bottom line on this, once you have it, you have it. Very difficult to be whole again. There is no pill, and no one knows right now the real effects of therapy on making these people whole again.
No, they can be whole again. And that is why we passed last year the mental health parity bill for civilians. We don't have it really there yet in treatment for our military. If they get the right intervention early, they really can take care of their issues. But you're right, it's more than that. Last night what we heard at our summit was, look, it's just not, I mean, we had someone stand up and said about his father, suicidal, a veteran, and the impact on the family, but he also said he was unemployed, he didn't have a job. What are the educational opportunities? That's why this GI Bill we passed was instrumental. But jobs, it's why our economic stimulus bill said 40% of the first $66,000 in wages we will pay as a federal government if you hire a vet after who has joined up now. But so much more needs to be done. We can treat them. It is like a physical illness.
Yeah.
We can fix it.
Well,
not in all cases, but we have to get better treatment, and I have to agree with you on that.
Well, if Representative, if we're going to get serious about it, we've got to talk about it a lot more, and we've got to take more time on programs like this to do that. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me very much.
No, it's my pleasure. China, 1 year after a deadly disaster, parents grieving and placing blame.